The mountains of southwest Virginia have long been home to some strange tales, ghostly lights, and howling beasts, and shadowy figures that seem half human and half animal. But few stories have spread fear quite like that of the Virginia devil monkey, a bizarre creature that's been sighted in the region for decades, described as something between a wolf, a baboon, and a demon. On a stormy night in late spring of 1994, a woman from Ohio found herself driving through southwest Virginia, taking a back route towards the outer banks of North Carolina. Heavy rain and construction delays forced her off the main highway and onto a dark, winding two-lane road south of Roanoke. She later described the area as the most isolated place she had ever been. There were no lights, no houses, nothing but trees and the sound of thunder. Around 2:30 a.m., lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the soaked asphalt, and that's when she saw it. Out of nowhere, a dark, muscular shape leaped across the road in front of her car, landing with inhuman agility. At first, she thought she had seen a large dog, or maybe even a deer, until the creature turned its head. She caught a glimpse of a flat, ape-like face, framed by short, sleek black fur and pointed, animalistic ears. It stood briefly on its hind legs, towering about 6 feet tall, with a long whip-like tail that flickered behind it as it disappeared into the tree line. She said that it looked like something between a monkey and a wolf, but too thin and too muscular and too wrong to be either. The creature didn't react to her car or headlights. It simply just walked off, as though it didn't fear her at all. The woman drove off in terror and later contacted local authorities, who found no evidence but took note of her shaken state. In the weeks following her report, locals began to whisper. Farmers near Shawsville, Elliston, and Vinton claimed to hear strange screams echoing from the woods at night. A sound like a human yell mixed with a hyena's cackle. Soon after, pets and livestock started to go missing. Goats and chickens were found mutilated but uneaten, as if something had attacked them out of sheer aggression. Dogs went missing from yards, including one German shepherd belonging to a couple in Shawsville, who later reported seeing a strange figure moving across their property at night. They described glowing red eyes peering from behind the barn, and a silhouette that moved upright for several steps before dropping down to all fours and sprinting away. In Saltville, Virginia, an elderly man once claimed to have seen a black dog-faced monkey thing rummaging through his trash before vanishing into the woods. And in Marion, Virginia, hikers reported seeing a creature that followed them for over a mile, grunting and snapping in the dark, only stopping when they reached the main road. Across Appalachia, the creature has earned many names: devil monkey, mountain ape, and even ridge runner. Descriptions vary slightly, but most agree on 3 key traits. It stands 5 to 7 feet tall, has dark, short fur, and moves with terrifying speed, often on 2 legs, before dropping to all fours. Some say its face looks almost human, while others claim it's a twisted reflection of both man and beast, something primal that shouldn't exist in the mountains.
Now, the Little Red Devil, really interesting one, seen in central and eastern Virginia, said to be 2 to 3 feet tall, covered in red or pink fur, appeared to be childlike in appearance, with hooves as feet. Now, this is why it was given the name Little Red Devil. The first sighting we were able to find was in 1968 and happened in Crewe, Virginia. Two brothers were out in the front porch of their farm one evening when one, the oldest, looked up and saw what he described as a childlike creature wandering around, about 3 feet tall, red, had hooves for feet. The young man was frozen in fear after seeing it, and after a bit, he was able to shake off the fear, grab his brother, and run to the house. In 1992, two young men were walking the trail around 4 in the afternoon one day in May. They suddenly come upon a small creature they described as being 2 to 3 feet tall, covered in red fur. Frightened, they turned and ran back to the trail entrance while the creature chased them. It eventually let out a high-pitched laugh and disappeared into the woods. In July of 1997, a group of friends were hanging out when a man sitting in the back of a truck noticed a figure about 3 feet tall, red-colored, and had claws for hands. It noticed him and galloped away.
In the misty forests of southwest Virginia, locals whisper of a creature that roams the ridge lines at night. A towering, hairy beast that's both feared and beloved. They call it the wood booger, a name passed down through generations in Wise County and Norton, Virginia. Some say it's just another name for Bigfoot. But around these mountains, the wood booger has a legend and a personality all in its own. The story of wood booger goes back over a century. According to an article from the Old Post dated November 12, 1892, the creature earned its unusual name after the boogeyman because parents warned their children that the wood booger would carry off those who wandered off too far into the woods at night. It wasn't just a bedtime story, though. Early settlers in the area spoke of strange footprints, echoing howls, and dark shapes moving between the trees. Hunters returned from the mountains shaken, telling stories of being watched by something massive and unseen. Even today's locals will tell you don't go into them woods after dark or the wood booger will get you. While the legend has roots in old folklore sightings around the Norton area, the story is kept alive by recent sightings. The Flag Rock Recreation Area just outside of town is considered the creature's territory. Hikers have reported catching glimpses of a huge man-shaped figure moving silently among the trees, and some have even claimed to hear deep guttural growls echoing through the hollers late at night. One local man interviewed during Finding Bigfoot recalled a chilling encounter while deer hunting near High Knob. I was sitting in my tree stand around dusk when everything went dead quiet. Then I heard heavy footsteps coming up behind me. 2 legs, not 4. I thought it was another hunter, but when I looked, it was something massive, brown, broad-shouldered. It looked right at me, then turned and walked back into the trees like it didn't have another care in the world. Another report came from teenagers camping near Lower Norton Reservoir in the early 2000s. They described being woke up at 3 a.m. by trundling footsteps and the sound of snapping branches. When they shined their flashlights towards the sound, they caught a glimpse of 2 growling amber eyes about 8 feet off the ground before whatever it was turned around and vanished into the woods. The group broke camp and left before sunrise. And also recently, a hiker in Wise County reported finding massive footprints nearly 16 inches long crossing a muddy stream bed. He said the steps were spaced too far apart for any human to make, and whatever left them had enormous weight behind them. The legend of the wood booger gained national attention when Animal Planet's Finding Bigfoot came to Norton to investigate. Initially, the team thought there weren't many reports in the area until they held a town hall meeting. The room quickly filled and soon people were lining up to share their unreported encounters. Hunters, hikers, and even children came forward describing seeing the same thing. A bulky humanoid standing about 7 to 8 feet tall, brown or black fur with an overpowering odor and glowing eyes that reflected like an animal's. The team conducted night investigations in the surrounding forest, and several unexplained vocalizations were recorded near Flag Rock that night. Since the show aired, Wood Booger has become a local celebrity. Visitors now come from all over to hike the mountain, hoping to catch a glimpse of Norton's most famous resident. At Flag Rock Recreation Area, a life-size Wood Booger statue stands guard over the overlook. Perfect for photos, though some locals joke that the real one isn't that far away. There's even a restaurant called Wood Booger Grill, where visitors can order a Wood Booger burger. Be sure to check out our video on visiting Norton, Virginia, to get a good look at both of these sites. The origins of the Wampus Cat trace back to Cherokee legend, though the story spread and evolved as settlers pushed into the Appalachian frontier. Most versions agree on one thing: the Wampus Cat was once human. In one of the most common tales, there was a Cherokee woman who suspected her husband of being unfaithful. He was a hunter who often vanished into the mountains with other men of the tribe, staying gone for days at a time. Women weren't allowed to go on these hunting trips. So one evening, driven by jealousy and curiosity, she disguised herself by wrapping a mountain lion hide around her body and followed them into the forest. She was eventually discovered, and her punishment was severe. The tribe's medicine man cursed her, binding her to the hide forever, transforming her into a half-woman, half-cat-like creature, doomed to wander the woods forever. From that day on, people whispered seeing a large cat-like creature walking upright and its golden eyes glowing with human intelligence, the first Wampus Cat. Another version of the story, popular in the Blue Ridge and Shenandoah regions, tells of a mountain witch who would shapeshift into animals and steal livestock from nearby farms. She would entrance farmers in a hypnotic state, then slip into the barns under the cover of darkness. For years, her trickery went unnoticed, until one night she was caught mid-transformation. As punishment for her dark magic, she became trapped forever in her cat-like form, half human, half cougar. Her screams echo through the hollers whenever she tries and fails to regain her human shape. Over the years, the Wampus Cat has been blamed for everything from cattle mutilation to missing pets across the southern Appalachians. But Virginia has more sightings than you might think. One of the most recent reports came from Abington, Virginia. A man and his wife were walking near a nearby property one night when they noticed a pair of enormous yellow eyes staring at them from behind their porch stairs. When the man called out to the creature, it hissed. Not like a wildcat, but like something trying to sound human. It then bolted across the yard, running on its hind legs before vanishing into the woods. They described it as a huge cat with almost a human-shaped face. The man later said he'd hunted his entire life and he's never seen anything move like that before. Back in the 1960s, farmers near Wise County began finding their livestock mutilated, their animals half-eaten but not drug away. Locals at first blamed it on wild dogs or bobcats, but one night a man claimed to have seen something standing on the edge of his property. It was as tall as a man, but shaped like a panther. When he fired his rifle, the creature let out a high-pitched human-like scream and then fled on its hind two legs. The next morning, he found paw prints the size of dinner plates pressed into the mud. In Saltville, a group of teens camping near the river reported hearing what they thought was a woman crying in the woods. When they went to investigate, they saw a dark shape crouched by the water. Its eyes reflecting green in their flashlight beam. The shape stood up nearly 7 feet tall and then bolted through the brush with a sound like claws on stone. Police later searched the area, but all they found were tracks resembling a large cat with an oddly humanoid stride. Park rangers along the Blue Ridge Parkway have also quietly shared stories of seeing what they called the mountain cat walker, a massive feline figure occasionally spotted crossing the road near Roanoke Mountain or seen perched on rocky overlooks at night. One ranger said it wasn't the size that frightened him, but the way it moved, too smooth and too deliberate, like it knew I was watching. Across Virginia, the Wampus Cat has become sort of an Appalachian legend, part monster, part warning. Parents used to tell their children not to stray too far into the forest or the Wampus Cat will get you. Hunters still whisper about glowing eyes in the trees and the sound of heavy breathing just beyond the firelight. Some believe it's a supernatural being, the result of an ancient curse. Others think it's a rare unknown native to the mountains, perhaps a surviving prehistoric predator or mutation of the eastern cougar thought to have gone extinct. Virginia is known for its old battlefields, shadowed forests, and haunted towns, but few tales from the Commonwealth send chills down the spine quite like the stories from Henrico County. Stories of a wolf-like being have circulated Henrico County for over a century. Witnesses describe seeing a tall creature standing between 6 and 7 feet tall, covered in grayish or silver-white fur, its body disturbingly human-shaped, yet unmistakably animal. It's said to prowl the forest near the Confederate Hills Recreation Center along the James River, often seen darting across roads or watching from the tree line under the light of a full moon. One of the earliest modern encounters came in October of 2011. The police received a call about a large, upright animal stalking a residential area. Nothing was ever found, but those who heard the screams that night said it sounded nothing like a normal dog. One witness, a woman, was walking her pit bull through the area, recalled her normally fearless dog suddenly freezing in terror, then lunging to escape, eyes fixed on something she couldn't see. The next day, she returned to the same spot to find massive canine prints sunk deep into the mud, far too large for any known breed. Locals say when the moon is full, a strange mournful howl can be heard echoing across the water, deep, guttural, and hauntingly human. One of the most chilling encounters happened late one night near the Henrico County boat landing. A couple had driven out to the water to enjoy the quiet, sitting together under a pale sky, when the stillness shattered with a terrifying, inhuman howl. The man later described it as so deep and guttural, it made his stomach twist, like it came from something that shouldn't exist. They swung their flashlights towards the trees, and what they saw next haunted them ever since. From the shadows stepped 2 enormous white figures, their fur catching the faint light. At first, they looked like giant dogs, but the longer the couple stared, the less sense it made. Creatures stood unnaturally still, silent, watching them with a chilling intelligence. For 10 long minutes, no one moved. The air was thick with fear. The couple later said they felt frozen in place, like the creatures were daring them to move, and that doing that would be a mistake. Then suddenly, headlights of another car swept across the lot. In that instant, the creatures vanished into the woods with a supernatural speed. To this day, neither of the witnesses can explain what they saw, but they both agree on one thing. Whatever those things were, they weren't human and were not of this world. Down in the Great Dismal Swamp National Wildlife Refuge, near the North Carolina border, another wolf-like creature has been reported for over a century. Witnesses describe it being 8 foot tall, with filthy white hair and glowing yellow eyes, and a human-like face twisted by a canine muzzle. The earliest recorded sightings date back to 1902, when a man named L. Francis Ames awoke to strange noises outside his home. Stepping into the night, he came face to face with the beast, a towering wolf man staring back at him from the edge of the swamp. Ames fired his pistol several times, but the creature didn't even flinch. When he tried to send his dogs after it, every single one of them refused to move, whimpering in fear. The creature eventually turned and disappeared into the night. Soon after, a man named Henry Jordan reported seeing the same thing. A massive, wolf-like creature watching him silently in the shadows. Word spread quickly and a group of hunters went into the swamp to try and kill the monster. Some claim they succeeded, but the peace didn't last. Within days, a farmer named Edward Smith began finding livestock slaughtered on his property, and several of his dogs had been devoured completely. One night, he caught the beast clawing beneath his barns, trying to reach one of his terrified animals. Smith confronted it, and when it lunged at him, he struck it repeatedly with his pistol until it fled. His neighbor, Whit Walker, later reported seeing similar tracks. Even in recent years, people in the area claim to have seen yellow eyes staring at them through windows, or heard growls so deep that they shake the walls. From the swamps down in the south of Virginia to the forest near Richmond, these encounters paint a haunting picture, a breed of creature that walks the line between man and monster. Some believe they're dogmen. Others believe werewolves or some other kind of ancient beings, or even cursed souls doomed to roam Virginia's forests forever. Well, folks, that's 5 Virginia cryptids. What'd y'all think of these? They were something else. We had the Wampus Cat, which is a classic. Most folks have heard of that one. The wood booger, which is very southwest Virginia and talked about a ton. It's called the wood booger in southwest Virginia. Other parts of the Appalachian region, they call it the wood booger or the booger. I mean, that's sightings of that thing's been going on since before the reports, the original Bigfoot reports up there in the Washington State area many years back. I mean, that's been going on for, I've been hearing stories of those going back to when the area was first settled even. And then the natives, I believe I heard, reported seeing something similar way before that. Let's see, what else? There's the werewolves. I hadn't heard of these before. That was very interesting to hear. Now, are they werewolves? Dogman? It's hard to say. You know, I've been hearing a lot about Dogman lately, but I've heard that there's some difference between werewolves and dogmen. I don't know enough about either one to say one thing or another. Could be the same thing. Who knows? And then we had the Little Red Devil. That was the weirdest one I think I've heard about. There's a couple reports. If you look it up, Jared, I think, talked about a couple there. And that's something else. Love to hear what you guys think in the comments about all these cryptids. I hope you enjoyed this. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hype it up. Well, that's about it for Virginia Cryptids or Cryptids of Virginia. Until next time, don't forget, stay spooky.